Staffel 10. Staffel 10. The famous race of spear Danes. Lo, the spear Danes glory through splendid achievements. The folk kings form a fame we have heard of, how princes displayed then their prowess in battle. Oft skilled the skiffing from scatters in numbers. From many a people their meat benches tore, since first he found him friendless and wretched. The earl had terror, comfort he got for it, waxed neath the welking world honor gained, till all his neighbors o'er sea were compelled to bow to this bidding and bring him their tribute, an excellent atheling. After was born him a son and heir, young in his dwelling, whom Godfather sent to solace the people. He had marked the misery malice had caused them, that reaved of their rulers their wretched head erstwhile. Long been afflicted the Lord in requital. Wielder of glory with world honor blessed him. Famed was Beowulf, far spread the glory of skill's great son in the lands of the Danemen. So the Carl that is young by kindnesses rendered, the friends of his father with fees in abundance, must be able to earn that when age approacheth, eager companions aid him requitingly. When war assaults him, serve him as liegemen. By praiseworthy actions must honor be got, among all of the races at the hour that was fated. Skilled then departed to the All-Father's keeping, warlike to wend him, Away then they bear him to the flood of the current, his fond-loving comrades. As himself he had bidden, while the friend of the Scyldings ward sway wielded, and the well-loved land prince long did rule them, the ring-stemmed vessel. A bark of the Atheling lay there at anchor, icy in glimmer and eager for sailing. The beloved leader led they down there, giver of rings on the breast of the vessel, the famed by mainmast, a many of jewels, of fretted embossings from far lands brought over, was placed near at land then, and heard I not ever. Oh, jetzt ultrarot, oder? And heard I not ever that a folk ever furnished a float more superbly, with weapons of warfare, weeds for the battle, bills and burnies on his bosom sparkled. Many a jewel that with him must travel on the flush of the flood or far on the current. And favors no fewer they furnished him soothly, excellent folk gems than others had given him, who when first he was born outward did send him, lone on the main the merriest of infants, and a gold-fashioned standard they stretched under heaven. High o'er his head let the home currents bear him, seaward consigned him, sad was their spirit, their mood very mournful, men were not able soothly to tell us they in halls who reside, heroes under heaven, to what heaven he hied. The second. In the boroughs then he bairn of the Scyldings, beloved land prize for long-lasting season, was famed mid the folk, till afterward sprang. Great-minded Helfdene, the Danes in his lifetime, he graciously governed, grin-mooded, aged. 4 bands of body born in succession woke in the world war troopers leader, Hergar, Hrothgar, and Halgar the Good. Heard I that Elin was on Genthau's concert. The well-beloved bait mate of the war-stifling leader. Then glory in battle to Hrothgar was given, waxing of war fame that willingly kinsman obeyed his bidding till the boys grew to manhood. A numerous band, it burned in his spirit, to urge his folk to found a great building. Yes, yes, a mid-ball grander than men of the era ever had heard of, and in it to share with young and old all of the blessings the Lord had allowed him, save life and retainers. Then the work I find afar was assigned to many races in Middle Earth's regions, to adorn the great folk hall. In due time it happened. Early among men that was finished entirely. The greatest of all buildings, Herod he named it, who wide-reaching, word-sway wielding 'mong earlmen. His promise he break not, rings he has lavished, treasures at banquet. Towered the hall up, high and horn-crested, huge between antlers. It battle waves bided, the blasting fire demon. Ere long then from hottest hatred must sworn wrath arise for a woman's husband and father. Then the mighty war spirit endured for a season, bore it bitterly. He who bided in darkness, that light-hearted laughter loud in the building. Bring in the cock, greeted him daily There was dulcet harp music, clear song of the singer he said that was able to tell from an old man, to tell from of old earth man's beginnings that Father Almighty earth had created, the winsome wold that the water encircleth, set exultingly the sun's and the moon's beams, to lavish their luster on land folk and races, and earth he embellished in all her regions, with limbs and leaves, life he bestowed too, on all the kindreds that live under heaven, so blessed with abundance, brimming with joyance, the warriors abided till a certain one gan to dog them with deeds of direfulest malice. A foe in the hall building, this horrible stranger, was Grendel entitled, the march stepper famous, who dwelt in the moor fence, the marsh on the fastness. The one-mooded being abode for a season in the land of the giants when the Lord and Creator had banned him and branded for that bitter murder, the killing of Abel, all-ruling father. The kindred of Cain, crushed with his vengeance, in the food he rejoiced not, but far away drove him. From kindred and kind that crime to atone for, matter of justice, thence ill-favored creatures, elves and giants, monsters of ocean, came into being, and the giants that long time grappled with God, he gave them requital. Thrice, when the sun was sunken, he set out to visit the lofty hall building, how the ring Danes had used it for beds and benches, when the banquet was over. Then he found there reposing many a noble asleep after supper. Sorrow the heroes, misery knew not. The monster of evil, greedy and cruel, tarried but little, fell and frantic, and forced from their slumbers. 30 of Thane men, thence he departed, leaping and laughing, this lair to return to. With surfeit of slaughter sallying homeward, in the dusk of the dawning as the day was just breaking, was Grendel's prowess revealed to the warriors. A cry of agony goes up when Grendel's horrible deed is fully realized. Then his meal-taking finished, a moan was uplifted. Morning cry mighty, the man-ruler famous. The long-worthy Atheling sat very woeful, suffered great sorrow, sighed for his liegemen. When they had seen the track of the hateful pursuer, the spirit accursed, too crushing that sorrow, the monster returns in the next night. Too loathsome and lasting not longer he tarried, but one night after continued his slaughter had married. Shameless and shocking, shrinking but little, for malice and murder they masked him fully. He was easy to find than who other were looked for. A pleasanter place of response in the lodges, abandoned bowers than was brought to his notice, told him truly by token apparent the hell Thane's hatred he held himself after, further and faster, who the foeman did baffle. So ruled he and strongly strove against justice, alone against all men, till empty uptowered. The choicest of houses, long was the season. 12 winters time tortured suffered. The friend of the Scyldings every affliction, endless agony. Hence it after became certainly known to the children of men. Sadly in measures that long against Hrothgar. Grendel struggled, his grudges he cherished. Murderous malice many of winter. Strife unremitting and peaceful wished. He, life woe to live from no liegeman at all of the men of the Dane folk for money to settle. No consular needed count for a moment on handsome amends at the hands of the murdered. The murderer, the monster of evil fiercely did harass, the ill-planning death shade, both elder and younger. trapping and tricking them. He trod every night. Then the mist-covered moor fence. Men do not know where. Witches and wizards wander and ramble. There. So the foe of mankind, many of evil's grievous injuries, often accomplished, horrible hermit, heard of frequented, gem-bedecked palace when nightshades had fallen. God is against monsters. Since God did oppose him, not the throne could be touched. The light-flashing jewel, love of him knew not. 'Twas a fearful affliction to the friend of the Scyldings. The king and his council delivered in vain. Soul-crushing sorrow now, not seldom in private now, sat the king in his council. Conference held they, what the braves should determine, gainst terrors unlocked for. The bell toll. At the shrines of their idols often they promised gifts and offerings, earnestly prayed they. They invoked the aid of their gods. The devil from hell would help them to lighten their people's oppressions. Such practice they used. Hope of the heathen, hell they remembered. In innocent spirit, God they knew not. Judge of their actions, all-wielding ruler. No praise could they give the guardian of heaven, the wielder of glory. Woe will be his who, through furious hatred, his spirit shall drive to. The clutch of the fire, no comfort shall look for. Wax no wiser, well for the man who, living his life days, his Lord may face, and find defense in his father's embrace. But wait! So Helfden's kinsman constantly mused on, his long-lasting sorrow the battle then clever, was not any wise able evils to scape from, to crushing the sorrow that came to the people. Loathsome and lasting, the life-grinding torture. Greatest of night woes, so Hylax's liegeman, good amid great men of Grendel's achievements, heard in his home of heroes then living, he was stoutest and strongly and striving. Nay, sturdy and noble. He bade them prepare him a bark that was trusty. He said that the walking would seat in the ocean. The folk leader noble, since he needed retainers for the perilous project, prudent companions, chided him little through loving him dearly. They edged, they egged the brave Atheling, augured him glory, the excellent knight from the folk of the story. Had liegemen selected likest to prove them, trustworthy warriors with 14 companions. The vessel he looked for, a liegeman then shoved them, a sea-crafted man, the bounds of the country. Fast the days fleeted, the float was a water. The craft by the cliff gloomed to prow then, well-equipped warriors. The wave currents twisted. On the sea they drifted. Soldiers then carried the sea on the sand. On the breast of the vessel, bright shining jewels, handsome war armor, heroes outshoved then, Warman the wood ship on his wish for adventure. The foamy-necked floater fanned by the breeze, likest a bird, glided the waters, till 24 hours thereafter the twist-stamped vessel had travelled such distance that the sailing men saw the sloping embankments, the sea cliffs gleaming, precipitous mountains, nesses enormous. They were nearing the limits. At the end of the ocean up thence quickly, the men of the weedest clomb to the mainland, fastened their vessels. The wielder they thanked, that the ways o'er the waters had waxen too gentle. Then well from the cliff edge the guard of the Scyldings, who the sea cliffs should see, saw over the gangway. Brave ones bearing bourgeous targets, armor already anxiously starving. musing and wondering what men were approaching. High on his horse, then Hrothgar's retainer turned him to costward, mightily brandished, his lance in his hands, questioned with boldness. Who are ye men here, mail-covered warriors, clad in your corslets, come thus a-driving? A high-riding ship over the shoals of the waters, and hither 'neath helmets have hied over the ocean. I have been strand guard, standing and warden, lest enemies ever anywise ravage Danish dominions with army of warships. More boldly never have warriors ventured. Hither to come of kingsmen's approval, world levy of warriors, I ween that ye surely nothing have known, never a greater one. Of earls over the earth have I had sight of. Then is one of your number a hero in armor, no low-ranking fellow adorned with his weapons, but launching them little unless looks are deceiving and striking appearance. Ere you pass on your journey as treacherous spies to the land of the Scyldings and farther fare, I fully must know now what race ye belong to. Ye far away dwellers, seafaring sailors, my simple opinion, hear ye and hearken, haste is most fitting, plainly to tell me what place you were come from. Number 5. The chief of the strangers rendered him answer, war troopers leader, and word treasure opened. We are sprung from the lineage of the people of Getland, and high like hearth friends, to heroes unnumbered. My father was known a noble-head warrior, Ectho titled, many a winter he lived with the people ere he passed on his journey. Old from his dwelling, each of the counselors, wildly mid world folk well remembered. We kindly of spirit, the lord of thy people, the son of King Helfdene, have come here to visit. Pardon me. Folk troops, defender, be free in thy counsels. To the noble one bear we a weighty commission. The helm of the Daneman we shall hide, I ween, naught of your message, naught of our message. Thou know'st if it happen, as we soothly heard say, that some savage despoiler, some hidden pursuer, on nights that are murky, by deeds were very direful, mid the Daneman exhibits hatred unheard of, horrid destruction. And the falling of dead, form feelings least selfish. I'm able to render counsel to Hrothgar, how he, wise and worthy, may worst the destroyer, if the anguish of sorrow should ever be lessened. Comfort come to him, and care waves grow cooler. Or ever hereafter he agony suffer, and troublous distress, while towereth upward, the handsomest of houses high on the summit. Bestriding his stallion, the strand watchman answered, the doughty retainer, the difference surely, twist words and works the warlike shield-bearer, who judges wisely well shall determine. This band I hear beareth no malice. To the prince of the Scyldings, pass ye then onward with weapons and armor, I shall lead you in person. To my war-trusty vassals command I shall issue to keep from all injury your excellent vessel. Your boat shall be well cared for during your stay here. Your fresh stout craft gainst every opposer. Close by the seashore, till the curved-neckled bark shall waft back again the well-beloved hero, over the way of the water to weather Damiens. So God wisheth. To warriors so great 'twill be granted sure in the storm of strife to stand secure. Onward they fared then. The boar signs glistened, bright on the visor vivid with gilding, blaze hardened, brilliant. The boar acted warden. The heroes hastened, hurried the liegemen, descended together, till they saw the great palace, the well-fashioned wassail hall, wondrous and gleaming, mid world folk and kindreds that was widest reputed, of halls under heaven which the hero abode him. Its lustre enlightened lands without number. Then the battle-brave hero showed them the glittering court of the bold ones, that they easily thither might fare on their journey. The aforementioned warrior, turning his courser, quoth as he left them, "This time I were faring, Father Almighty, grant you his grace, and give you to journey, safe on your mission. To the sea I will get me 'gainst hostile warriors as warden to stand." The highway glistened with many hued pebble, trinklets and baubles. A bypath led the liegemen together. Firm in handlock, the war byrnie glistened. The ringed sword radiant rang mid the armor, as the party was approaching the palace together. In warlike equipments, gainst the wall of the building, their wide-fashioned war shields, they weary did set them. Battle shields sturdy, benchward they turned then. Their battle sarks rattled the gear of the heroes. The lancers stood up then, all in cluster. The arms of the seamen, ashen shafts, mounted. With edges of iron, the armor-clad troopers were decked with the weapons. Then the proud-mooded hero asked of the champions questions. From what borders bear your battle shields plaited, gilded and gleaming, your grey collared byrnies, helmets with visors and heb of war lances? To Hrothgar the king I am servant and liegeman. Monk folk from far lands found I have ever. Men so many of mien more courageous. I ween that from valor no wise as outlaws, but from greatness of soul ye sought for King Hrothgar. Beowulf replies. Then the strength-famous earlman answer rendered. The proud-mooded weather chief replied to his question. Hylax mates are we, Beowulf hight I. To the bairn of Helfdene, the famous folk leader, I freely will tell to thy prince my commission, if pleasantly hearing, he'll grant we may greet him so gracious to all men. Wulfgar replied. This prince of the Scyldings, the friend lord of Danemen, I will ask of thy journey the giver of rings, as thou urgest me to do it, the folk chief famous, and inform thee early what answer the good one mindeth to render me. He turned then hurriedly where Hrothgar was sitting, old and hoary, his earlmen attending him. The strength famous went till he stood at the shoulder of the lord of the Danemen, of courteous Thanemen. The custom he minded, Wulfgar addressed then.